Okay, I'm here. I'm sorry. I'm Tinn Parrow, otherwise known as... Okay, forget that. Forget that part. I'm parked, turning the car off. It's freezing out there. A little early, better late than... Wait a minute. Better early than... Okay, yeah. Listen, I'm not a morning person, but I'm going to get out of my car now. Let's see. With my phone and my coffee and my recorder, of course. And I'm going to stand in front of the parking meter and act as if I'm paying over the phone, because that's what you have to do these days. Modern technology, you have to love... No, you don't. I know I don't. So I'm pretending like I'm paying from my phone, because, at least if somebody's watching, they think, oh, he's being a respectable civilian or something like that. Okay, so I'm just acting like I got a 3-hour time limit. No, I'm not acting like I have a 3-hour time limit. I just have the 3-hour time limit. I'm only going to be here for about half hour. I'm going in now. I'm inside. Walking down the hall now to the WCBN FM 88.3 studio. Knock, knock.
Hey, hello.
Hey, good morning.
Morning. Laurence.
Yes, can I put my stuff here? Or Laurence with a U. Yeah, we played 2 nights ago at my band.
Yeah.
At Ziggy's, and as usual, there's like maybe 10 people. People just don't come out and see live music as much as they used to, it seems. I mean, true, my stuff is left of center, and whatever. We've only been together for a year.
Is more people at Zalgaz?
There can be, depending on how much press you can get, so I'm here to blab about it, not that may or may not make a difference. A good friend of mine who did PR for George Bedard and myself and some other jazz people died several years ago, and she was the PR lady of Ann Arbor. I mean, she was serious.
Yeah.
And she was very good, and if she PR'd your gig, people would come. So that was too bad that she had to leave the building.
You know Sean Wesley.
Yeah. He's still happening?
He's still Friday morning.
Oh, wow.
He's still around.
We used to do a children's show when I was Mr. Laurence.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, but our automation system that allows people to upload a show has really helped.
Oh, wow.
So he crafts it at home the day before and uploads it. Hey, good morning. Laurence Von Miller, welcome to WCBN.
Thank you very much, DJ Tone.
You've been around a while, and we're going to talk a little bit about old. But, tell us a little bit about your today's music and what are you doing this week?
Right. Well, today's music in my life turned a right angle turn or a 180 or something like that a few years ago when the Fourth World Quartet was picked up on Cuneiform Records back in 2021, I think it was. And from there that led to my identical twin brother and I recording a huge batch, 30 compositions we wrote when we were 19, 20, 21 years old, around the same time that the Fourth World Quartet was happening, but was never recorded properly and all that. So we did that with high hopes Cuneiform Records would pick it up. Yeah, really excited about that.
What's the name of that?
That's called Miller Twins. Yeah. And then from there, I got really excited, and I thought, well, what the heck, there's still other compositions from then, and some new stuff that I'm beginning to write for my, new ensemble, Tinn Parrow and his Clapfold Platune. That's a septet, spazz jazz, atonal, hard bop, dada, rock ensemble, septet, yeah. And one thing led to another, and I recorded 20 compositions over the last year and a half, I guess it was. And sure enough, Cuneiform Records is going to pick that baby up too. I am so geeked.
Gosh,
Yeah.
it's nice when they like you.
Oh man, I'm telling you, I did the rock and roll pop thing, punk thing for decades, as well as other stuff, really experimental stuff.
And we're inundated by the ignoringness of everyone else.
Yes. And
Oh dear.
And here,
we hear that story, right?
Exactly. And the irony of it is that this stuff is pretty darn left of center. Some of it is not easy listening, and yet here I am. So
okay. That's a good segue into the first track.
Yes.
But say you're going to be performing.
Get your pencils out. No, get your pens out. This is permanent. November 7th. That's a Thursday. You can all make it. Ain't nothing going on a Thursday. 7 o'clock sharp. Ann Arbor, Zell-Gaz Grotto Club. They have a parking lot the size of Texas, so you can get 100 cars back there.
Okay, and the segue into the
first tune, which is Makeshift Hubchini off Miller Twins.
Okay.
Makeshift Hubchini. This is my favorite track. It's just so gone.
Just taking turns, showing their concerns. Once and when it stops, often its back off drops.
Makeshift Hubchini.
Random, tandem, you'll enjoy the ride. Few too many rarely coincide by side. Down 4th Street Avenue, maybe you'll hear this song. If so, I hope you do. Makeshift Hubchini.
Okay, thank you. Miller Twins. So, not exactly what you're going to be playing this week, but close.
Very close because we play that particular composition. Yeah.
Okay.
Now, it's not going to sound that good because there's a lot of doubled tracks on that give it some real, yeah.
Okay, so many different influences. I mean, you talk a little bit. How did Makeshift Hubchini start? How did that come about?
Well, I think, madness, okay. And, lyrically, I would say that expressing my existential views at that point in my life. Captain Beefheart was a huge influence for me. And of course, jazz, post-bop stuff. Eric Dolphy, as the bass clarinetist that he was, that's what was my main axe back then. That particular recording, the magic of home, overdubs, right? Multi-track recording at home, very carefully. I'm experienced, so I can make it sound good. But that particular piece, I played all the tracks, all the instruments, all the vocals. Most of the tunes on Miller Twins, we collaborated, as far as like for his compositions, I would play the clarinet parts and vice versa. He'd play the saxophone parts on my tunes and so forth.
Okay, you got a really long story of many different things. Help our listeners, the origin story and the arc of Laurence von Miller, because you've been different things over time.
Yeah, I've been there and back again, basically.
So a lot of listeners have no idea.
Sure.
What made you decide to be a musician?
Right.
And then, you started right away as a young kid. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was born in the 50s, and I was brought up on classical music. My father was a pianist, so was my sister, my brother Roger. Music in the living room all the time. Anyways, my first love was bagpipes. I'm not sure how I was exposed to bagpipes, but that just kicked my ass, pardon my French. And my mother said, well, those are too expensive and they're too difficult to learn, so let's start you out on the clarinet. So
okay.
Yeah, so I started the clarinet in third grade. We added the piano. I started piano in third grade, and then the clarinet in fifth grade. Private lessons a bit, some in school.
School
with the clarinet.
band.
Yeah, concert band.
I was in school band.
Right.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we were exposed to stuff like John Cage too, as well. My sister would take us, and so did my father, take us to Contemporary Directions concert here at the U of M. And Hill Auditorium, classical music, Dvorak and Rite of Spring and all this really cool stuff. So we were really hit hard. And of course, the British invasion, the Beatles and the Kinks and the Who and all that.
Yes.
So, and as youngsters, we were just reaching puberty, not quite yet, but, we thought, gee whiz, all those girls screaming, that sounds like good fun to me. And, then, of course, late 60s, we got the psychedelic stuff, right? Sid Barrett's Pink Floyd, Captain Beefheart, early Alice Cooper, Jefferson Airplane, so forth and so on. And that... my brothers and I, so I have to include my brothers here because we've been together as musicians all our lives, and we formed a band called Sprott and Lair, and that was like a psych rock band. We were like, Roger was, I think, 17, we were 15. And that's actually been picked up a few times once by New Alliance Records.
And so history was made.
Yeah, and so from there it just, took off, and a variety of different genres. But so we eventually got into this freeform jazz kind of stuff. It made sense with the Sprott and Lair thing because we were really into improvisation back then as teenagers, Psychedelics had expanded our brains as well, and not that you need drugs in order to do so, but that certainly helped. Long story short, to put it like sandwich it. We've eventually, I had a band called M Pool. It was a really free-form noise band before there were many of them. Yeah. In 1976, and somehow we merged with Carrie and Niagara from Destroy All Monsters, and then pretty soon Ron Ashton from the Stooges playing guitar, and Michael Davis from the MC5 is playing bass, and we're opening up for the Ramones and Devo, and it's just like, what the heck, man?
Do you remember any details? How did that start? How did the contact? Yes, the story.
Yeah, Carrie and Niagara would come over to our jam sessions, M Pool, and we it was a little annoying at first because we didn't know them very well. They're from the other side of town.
And older.
No, they're our age.
About the same. Okay.
Yeah. We're all in our early 20s at that point. And eventually, they would just come over and hang out and listen to us improvise, and do our thing. And very quickly, they said, "How about, hey, can we play one of my songs? You guys can do whatever you like, you know."
Okay, you were invited because they liked it.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Well,
Boom.
Yes, and that's because two of their main, non-musician members had left for California. So they were kind of left high and dry, and they were looking for new blood, and so that's where we fit in.
That's good.
Yeah.
Okay, and that took off an arc and then exploded at the end.
Yep. So we were with them only for a year and a half. Me and Ben left the band abruptly. We could have done that a bit better. And thinking back, is in a lot of instances in our lives, right? You think, well, I could have done that better.
Oh dear.
Yeah. So but that put me and my twin brother Ben on a trajectory of punk, new wave, all through the 80s, or the bulk of it. And so we just started the same band, the other band, Nonfiction, Radio Silence, GKW, The Empty Set. That was the 80s. And then I got sober finally, thank God. That was in 1989. I slipped once in 91, but yeah, I've been sober ever since. So I finally began my dream band, Larynx Zillion's Novelty Shop, which is a kind of an avant-garde glam rock band that I had for several years. And then I finally reinvented myself as a children's entertainer. It was nice to hear Sean Westergaard's voice on the show before us here, because he was kind enough to sponsor a children's show during the first few years of that experience. I'd come down here, and as you know, I'm not a morning person, and I'd come in with a bag of these old vintage children's records, and I'd usually do an unplugged version of one of my tunes. It was a lot of fun.
I love those.
Yeah. And so for me, to wrap that section of my musical life up, being a children's entertainer, I made more money doing that than any other form of music.
There you go.
Yeah, family entertainment, it's a little easier to navigate if it's your thing, and it was. A lot of things are my things. I'm eclectic, as my brothers are. We're all over the place. So yeah, and then I met my wife, and she played piano. Long story short, just to kind of close it, because we're going to run out of time real fast.
Yeah.
We expanded the Mr. Laurence and his Play Money Band into the Mr. Laurence Experience, where she created this drummer, animatronic bear who played drums on a children's drum set. And we synced it up with the backing tracks. And game over, Yeah.
Okay. That was pretty good. Gosh, I want to ask a bunch of questions.
Yeah.
Okay, but
Next,
more music.
Yes, one more music.
White Elephant.
Yes.
Introduce White Elephant.
Yes, White Elephant. That's a new piece that I just composed, and we're going to be playing that one on November 7th as well. Here we go.
a phase in between Laurence and today?
What do you mean by that?
Well, it's almost like Picasso. Well, you've got the blue phase, and you've got the Laurence phase, and then you've got
children's
the
music
phase.
Yeah.
Did you really come right to the Platoon type stuff after?
Sure, I can explain that.
After Larry,
yeah.
So
Yeah.
like after Laurence.
Yeah.
Still got it.
Yeah. I'll start. Yeah.
I mean, I just
if
think-
you ask me that, I can
just
try and capsulize it. It started with Spot and Lair in 2013 when a
Right.
German label picked it up and remastered it, and sounds a lot better. And that was, and then M Pool Basement Tapes were picked up in 2018 by Feeding Tube Records. Then Fourth World Quartet. So it's all this older stuff that I did with my brothers.
It took that long. 30 seconds. But let's talk about my gymnasium museum.
Yeah.
Hello, great listeners. We're back in the studio with Laurence von Miller. Tell us about this one, please.
The one we just heard?
Yeah, sorry, that one.
Well, that's really the straightest tune that I've written in a long time. I mean, it's quirky and it turns your head inside out a bit, but it doesn't have nearly the angst and the twisted tonality that some of the other stuff has. Yeah, that's from the new batch that I'm calling My Gymnasium Museum, which will be is picked up by Cuneiform Records. They'll be releasing it sometime later next year because they're like way backed up. But as you can hear, most of my stuff is horn bass. You don't hear any guitar. I mean, there's like a couple of tunes with guitars in the batch, but my band is a horn-based band, and it's funny in reflection, if I may. Sprott and Lair, which was our first real group as brothers back in 1969, it was picked up by Wolfgang, president at World and Sound Records, a German label. That was in 2013. So we did some gigs and got that released again on vinyl and CD. And then in 2018, M Pool, another band that was my band essentially. Again, Basement Tapes, picked up by Feeding Tube Records. And then the Fourth World Quartet, as I mentioned earlier this morning, a band that we had in 1975, being picked up by Cuneiform. And so what my point is that there's all this old stuff that we originally began when we were youngsters, getting attention finally, and we kind of asking ourselves, well, what the heck were we doing, trying to bang our heads against the wall with the punk new wave thing when I mean, this is me and Ben talking. Roger did very well with Mission to Burma. So here it is. I'm going, I'll feed that, and so I've reformed this band I had in 1972 called the Clapfold Platune. It was Marsh Kravitz and his Clapfold Platoon, and I figured Marsh Kravitz, he must have grown up, and he did, and so he changed his name to Tinn Parrow.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the story.
character.
That's the character. So, like with a lot of my bands, not a lot, but several of them, I have like a stage persona, and in this case, it's Tinn Parrow. He's a little bit of a slapstick guy.
That's good. Okay, what's the making of Bella Ray?
It's a song about a French ballerina that I was inspired to write after watching a German period piece from 1930. Go figure.
That sounds good. It's the making of Bella Ray.
Correct.
Monday, Tuesday, ever, every day for Bella Ray. Flowering away in full bouquet.
Right. So, next subject, return to, oh, here's what I'm doing today, and it's these guys, and we're going to be here and here, and we did this.
Good.
And circle back around to today. And then the last one,
which is a live
which is
of the band.
The current band.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what I thought. Quite a lead-in.
Yeah.
Rolling out along we follow up in Bella Ray, bouncing off her walls in ricochet.
Sure, why not?
Thank you, Laurence Von Miller. Okay, My Gymnasium. That one's called The Making of Bella Ray. You know, we talked a little bit about the past, but let's circle back around now. Tell us a little bit more about the current act.
Yeah, and just before I do so, let me make a correction. My Gymnasium Museum is essentially a solo recording project, but I enlisted members of my Clapfold Platoone as well as other local luminaries. So it's very much it's called Tinn Parrow and Company. That's the
Yes.
essential mix. So it's not pure solo performance. No, I mean a lot of these cello. I can't play the cello. Euphonium. No.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, to answer your question, yeah. So here we are. Tinn Parrow and his Clapfold Platoone will be playing at Ann Arbor Zalgaz Grotto Club November 7th, Thursday. Be there 7 o'clock sharp. We're going to play one set, and that's it. And and that's the extent of it. We have one more tune we're going to play before I leave here. This is actually a live recording of us this summer at Stereo Entropy in Redford. A song that I wrote in 1976 called Opaque Mystery, and you'll get the gist of the kind of a punk edge to it. We're still working out the kinks. Really exciting stuff.
Well, that's the way it's supposed to be. Thank you. Opaque Mystery.
1, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, hi. What's the big idea? For some idea I had no reason. Holstered, broke fast, and stuntcraft hosiery. Distances spread free. Opaque mystery.
taken my place near corner fold. Convinced of that, I'm sure once told.